Hello, welcome to Just Askin Suzy. This morning we have a question from Smitha. Smitha asks, my 5-year-old is suddenly showing enhanced ego play. I am finding it mind-boggling and I am rather irritated by it. Do kids need to work hard and be competitive to get along in school? And is ego development a typical development pattern they need to get through school?
Yeah, thanks, Smitha, for the question. So, again, it's going to depend on what our perceptual reality is. From the perceptual reality of mainstream education, then yes, there's this need for this kind of competitive edge and those kinds of things. But again, everything's a perceptual reality. So even though your children go to maybe a mainstream school, it's probably the part that's irritating you might have something to do with the fact that you don't actually believe that as part of your perceived reality. So when they go to do those kinds of things and they're trying to get the upper edge and they have to have that competitiveness, and we're talking about a 5-year-old here, so this is about kindergarten. So from your vantage point, it might make absolutely no sense whatsoever for a kindergartner to have a competitive edge, and that makes perfect sense. So what I would play with is, letting her have the experiences that she's having in school. Maybe that's where she needs to be right now, and that's what your options are. But also talking to her about that competitive edge, and then from the standpoint of ego play, or, kind of finding that, sometimes ego play, especially at the kindergarten age level, can really be about kind of trying to figure yourself out. Who are you? Who are you separate from other people? And it's kind of that first stage of development out. So maybe you could have a conversation with her about how does that feel. So when she's acting aggressive or when she's acting in some way that is competitive, how does that actually feel in her body? So start to give her some body awareness. Start to teach her about making choices about that. She might actually be the little 5-year-old in that group that decides to move everybody into a different perceptual reality by the way she wants to perceive it. And it'll probably also reduce a lot of your kind of irritation with the whole thing, because in your reality, it's not quote-unquote right. It doesn't make sense. So go with that.
Okay, and there's one more piece to this question, and that is around the fact that teachers think that children should naturally be interested in all subjects, and she's asking, is this true? Because in her own experience, really she's not interested in everything. Even as a parent, she's just interested in studying a few things. So
right. Yeah, I think our old paradigm around education was that children needed kind of a well-rounded education, and it's nice in theory, but the truth of the matter is that, number one, not all children learn in the same way, and number two, the beautiful thing about the diversity of each and every human being on this planet is that we are interested in different things in slightly different ways. And so personally, I really like the idea that we would kind of really pay attention to what a child is interested in and then really foster that interest. And there's all kinds of things that can be learned within any particular focal point. It's not that you can't learn to math and learn reading and those kinds of things, but you don't have to learn it as math, as reading. This separation out of these different subjects so that they're not part of our typical interest level, I think is where we get a little bit out of sorts with ourselves and out of sorts with the real empowering of just a love to learn. Anybody who wants to learn what they want to learn.
Yes, and the internet seems to almost reflect that, because anybody can get on at any time and learn anything you want to learn.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of the need for mainstream standardized education like that is dwindling very quickly. So it's kind of nice to see it wind itself up.
Great. Okay, that's all for today, and thank you for participating. Send any more future questions to Suzy Miller's Assistant at gmail.com. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having us.